read you some more of this bedtime story. This is part 13. We are still listing things about her mother, but it's still really good. 32. For 2 months, my mother hardly left the house. One afternoon, during the last week before summer vacation, I came home from school and found my mother in the kitchen, holding a package addressed to Jacob Marcus at an address in Connecticut. She'd finished translating the first quarter of the History of Love and wanted me to take it to the post office. Sure, I said, tucking it under my arm. Instead, I walked to the park and worked my thumbnail under the seal. On top was a letter, one sentence, written in my mother's tiny English handwriting. Dear Dr. Marcus, I hope these chapters are all you hoped for. Anything less is my fault entirely. Yours, Charlotte Singer. My heart sank. 15 boring words without even the slightest hint of romance. I knew I should send it, that it wasn't up to me, that it isn't fair to meddle in other people's business, but then, there are a lot of things that aren't fair. 33. The History of Love, Chapter 10. During the Age of Glass, everyone believed some part of him or her to be extremely fragile. For some, it was a hand, for others, a femur, yet others believed it was their noses that were made of glass. The Age of Glass followed the Stone Age as an evolutionary corrective, introducing into human relations a new sense of fragility that fostered compassion. This period lasted a relatively short period in the history of love, about a century, until a doctor named Ignacio da Silva hit on the treatment of inviting people to recline on a couch and giving them a bracing smack on the body part in question, proving to them the truth. The anatomical illusion that had seemed so real slowly disappeared and, like so much we no longer need but can't give up, became vestigial. But from time to time, for reasons that can't always be understood, it surfaces again, suggesting that the Age of Glass, like the Age of Silence, never entirely ended. Take, for example, that man walking down the street. You wouldn't notice him necessarily, but he's not the sort of man one notices. Everything about his clothes and his demeanor asked not to be picked out from a crowd. Ordinarily, he would tell you this himself. He would be overlooked. He carries nothing. At least he appears to carry nothing. Not an umbrella. Even though it looks like rain, or a briefcase, though it's rush hour. And around him, stooped against the wind, people are making their way home to their warm houses at the edge of the city, where their children lean over their homework at the kitchen table. The smell of dinner in the air, and probably a dog, because there is always a dog in such houses. One night, when this man was still young, he decided to go to a party. There, he ran into a girl he'd gone up through the grades with since elementary school, a girl he'd always been a little in love with, even though he was sure she didn't know he existed. She had the most beautiful name I'd ever heard, Alma. When she saw him standing by the door, her face lit up, and she crossed the room to talk to him. He couldn't believe it. An hour or two went by. It must have been a good conversation, because the next thing he knew, Alma had told him to close his eyes. Then she kissed him. Her kiss was a question he wanted to spend his whole life answering. He felt his body shaking. He was scared he was about to lose control of his muscles. For anyone else, it was one thing, but for him, it wasn't so easy, because this man believed, and had believed for as long as he could remember, that part of him was made of glass. He imagined a wrong move in which he fell and shattered in front of her. He pulled away, even though he didn't want to. He smiled at Alma's feet, hoping she'd understand. They talked for hours. That night, he went home full of joy. He couldn't sleep. So excited was he for the next day when he and Alma had a date to go to the movies. He picked her up the following evening and gave her a bunch of yellow daffodils. At the theater, he fought and triumphed over He thought everything was just the beginning. He spent the afternoon making her a necklace of tiny birds out of folded paper strung together with thread. Right before he went out the door, he grabbed a needlepoint cushion from his mother's couch on an impulse and stuffed it into the seat of his pants as a protective measure. As soon as he did, he wondered why he hadn't thought of it before. That night, after he gave Alma the necklace, tying it gently around her neck while she kissed him, feeling only a little tremor, nothing so terrible, as she ran her fingers down his spine and paused for a moment before slipping her hand into the seat of his pants, only to pull back as a look came over her that teetered between laughter and horror, a look that reminded him of a kind of pain he'd never not known. He told her the truth. At least he tried to tell the truth, but what came out was only half of the truth. Later, much later, he found that he was unable to relieve himself of two regrets. One, that when she leaned back, he saw in the lamplight that the necklace he made had scratched her throat. And two, that in the most important moment of his life, he had chosen the wrong sentence. For a long time, I sat there reading the chapters my mother had translated. When I finished the 10th, I knew what I had to do. 34. There was nothing left to lose. I crumpled my mother's letter and threw it in the trash. I ran home and went up to my bedroom to draft a new letter to the one man I believed could make my mother change. I worked on it for hours. Late that night, after she and Bird had already gone to sleep, I got out of bed, tiptoed down the hall, and carried my mother's typewriter into my room. The one she still likes to use for letters that are more than 15 words. I had to type it a lot of times before I managed to do one without any mistakes. I read it over a last time, then I signed my mother's name, and I went to sleep. We are starting a new chapter now. The chapters aren't numbered though, so this chapter is just titled, Forgive Me. Almost everything known about Zvi Litnov comes from the introduction his wife wrote in the volume of The History of Love, reissued a few years after he died. The tone of her prose, tender and effacing, is colored by the devotion of one who has dedicated her life to another's art. It begins, I met Zvi in Valparaiso in the fall of 1951, soon after I turned 20. I'd seen him often at the cafes along the water that I used to frequent with any friends. He wore a coat even in the warmest months, and stared moodily out at the view. He was almost 12 years older than I, but there was something about him I was drawn to. I knew he was a refugee because I'd heard his accent on the few occasions when someone he knew, also from that other world, would pause for a moment at his table. My parents had immigrated to Chile from Krakow when I was very young, so there was something about him that was familiar and moving to me. I would make my coffee last, watching him read through the newspaper. My friends laughed at me, calling him un vision, and one day a girl named Gracia Sturmer challenged me to go speak to him. And so Rosa did. She spoke to him for almost 3 hours that day as the afternoon lengthened, and the cool air came in off the water, and Litvinov, for his part, pleased with the attention of this young woman with a pale face and dark hair, delighted that she understood bits of Yiddish, suddenly filled with a longing he hadn't known he'd been carrying around inside of him for years, came to life, entertaining her with stories and quoting from poetry. That evening, Rosa went home filled with a giddy joy. Among the cocky, self-absorbed boys at the university, which their pomaded hair and empty talk of philosophy, and the melodramatic few who had professed their love to her at the sight of her naked body, there was not one with even half as much experience as Litvinov. The next afternoon, after her classes, Rosa hurried back to the cafe. Litvinov was there